This is Scabdragon, a Dragon Steel-type Pokemon based on the Raiders from Arc Raiders. And while I made this one for fun, it's got nothing on the ones I made for you! Because everyone's playing Arc Raiders right now, for today's special episode, I'm going to select 8 random commenters and have them spin wheels to get the factors that we have to use to make their Pokemon as always, while also basing it off the different evil AI robots, makeshift weapons, and discarded loot that can be found across this new hit game. And if combining these two sounds difficult, that's because it is. But we're still gonna try to make the most epic Pokemon possible, so without further ado, let's get into it. And today's first Pokemon will be for Duncan Midzinski. Don't worry, we're only 2 episodes away from the first demo. But anyways, Duncan, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Nothing wrong with that. And now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you are going to get 1, which makes you a classic 2-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing this Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is the Dragon type. That is very cool typing, obviously, and Dragon Electric is sick. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do! A Mega Evolution! A Dragon type with a Mega Evolution based on Arc Raiders today is not starting off easy. The first stage of your Pokemon is Templisk, the Shutdown Pokemon. This tiny dragon has a yellow maw based on the barrel of the Tempest, an epic weapon that's known for its effectiveness against Arc. And this is reflected in the Pokemon's attacking method, as it's able to fire precise bolts of electricity which are highly effective against steel types, as they can penetrate directly through their metal armor. And at level 35, it'll evolve into Jupitalon. Now based on the Jupiter, a crazy sniper rifle made for destroying even the strongest Arc, this Pokemon is able to fire even larger bolts of electricity than before, as it's even said it can break open a Steelix's head in a single shot. And when exposed to Jupite, it'll evolve into Mega Jupitalon. Now a 3-headed steel hunting Hydra, this electric beast is the bane of all Pokemon who dare sport the steel typing, as it's known to turn members of this supposedly S-tier type to a puddle of liquid on sight. In terms of stats, of course I gave it a ton of special attack, but the rest of its stats are pretty mid. And for the shiny, I went with this blue color to make it look more draconic. And today's second Pokemon will be for Jaden Shoemaker. I don't know if that's healthy, but thanks for doing it. But anyways, Jaden, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you're going to be a starter Pokemon. So I guess we can say this is a starter Pokemon for the Speranza region. That's pretty funny. And now let's see what type of starter you'll be, the fire, grass, water, or electric type, and you are a grass type starter. But it'd be pretty boring if we just left you pure grass type, so let's still spin this wheel to get a secondary typing, and it's the flying type. Cool. The first stage of your Pokemon is Chicklim, the scrappy Pokemon. This typing felt absolutely perfect for a Pokemon based on Scrappy, the chicken that collects parts for you while you're on mission. As just like the player can give Scrappy different fruits like lemons to upgrade its loot collecting abilities, so too do trainers give this Pokemon fruit so it can upgrade itself. As upon reaching level 16, it'll evolve into Poltrolib, now sporting large binoculars based on another item used to upgrade Scrappy, the Olive. This Pokemon is able to see for incredible distances, spotting potential hunters and alerting the rest of their pack. And upon reaching level 32, it'll evolve into Polpear. This forest warrior is now outfitted with armor based on the Arc Raiders Prickly Pear, which not only gives it this super colorful appearance, but it also equips it with an array of sharp edges that will impale foes who seek to do it harm. In terms of stats, Polpear is pretty balanced all around with a slight emphasis on defense. And for the shiny, I actually went with this weird tan color as a reference to the mushrooms that you also need to upgrade Scrappy. And today's third Pokemon will be for the funny Baby Yoda. I am definitely gonna have to pass on that, but thanks anyway. And of course, now we'll see what power level your Pokemon's going to be, and you are regular, but there is still nothing wrong with that. And now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you are going to get 0, which actually makes you a basic Pokemon. And now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is going to be the Dark type. That is cool, always one of the coolest types. And Dark Fairy type is actually a really unique combination. I don't know how that's gonna fit into Arc Raiders, but it is cool. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do a signature move. Again, that is awesome, but does not make it any easier. Your Pokemon is Skurrsnooze, the ratting Pokemon. This tricky rodent has a very annoying hunting method, as it's known to get its food through no work of its own, but instead by waiting for other Pokemon to collect food for themselves before swooping in and afflicting them with its special sleep-inducing dust that instantly puts them out. And then it will take all their hard-earned food for itself. Just like those who choose to rat in Arc Raiders by hiding near exit points, to sneak attack raiders and take all their goop. And this Pokemon's thieving ways are reflected in its signature move, Drowsy Dust, a special attacking fairy-type move that only deals 45 damage, but if it's used against a target that's sleeping, it will steal all their stat boost and their held items, making for a true ratting rodent. In terms of stats, I actually made it pretty weak because I feel like any Pokemon centered around the sleep condition should not be strong. And for the shiny, I went with this dark gray color as a reference to real-life rat. And today's fourth Pokemon will be for Wit Mangum, who said that this series inspired them to make their own Pokemon with wheels. And that's super cool to hear. I'd love to see some. But first, I have to show you your own Pokemon by spinning this wheel to get the power level, and you are a legendary. That is awesome. And it means that now we have to spin this wheel to see what type of legendary your Pokemon will be, and you are a box art legendary, which basically means we have to make something powerful enough that it would appear on the box art of a Pokemon game set in Arc Raiders. And now let's see what typing this box art legendary will be. Your first up is the bug type. It's actually really good. There's a lot of like insectoid art creatures in the game, and bug steel type is perfect. Like seriously, I don't think we could ask for better typing for a Pokemon based on the art. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is a signature new mechanic that could be anything. Your Pokemon is Arachnid, the matriarch Pokemon. Based on the matriarch, one of the largest and most menacing robot enemies found in the game, this Pokemon stands at an equally terrifying height, being more in line with the sizes of Gigantamax Pokemon than just regular Mons. And while its thick metal exterior prevents most damage being done to the beast, if it does take any damage, it can actually be rapidly repaired by the smaller spider-like creatures that live on its body. But that's far from the most interesting thing these spiders can do, as they're also part of the Pokemon's new signature ability, Arcgrade, which states that if Arachnid is in battle with one of a few select weaker bug types, it will use one of its mini spiders to upgrade them into a new armored variant. For instance, if it's in battle with an Ariados, it'll upgrade it into a bug steel type, which is now based on the Bastion. And just like the Bastion, this once incredibly weak bug can launch rapid volleys of webs from the front of its head, which has also given it a huge stat boost to its attack. When in battle with a Ledian, it'll upgrade it into a bug fire type form based on the Rocketeer, which now decimates foes with huge volleys of flame and the help of its now boosted special attack. And if in battle with Ninjask, it'll upgrade it into a bug electric type based on the Hornet, which gains even more speed that it now pairs with its high voltage to speed up to and shock foes, making them completely immobile while Arachnid comes in for the final blow. In terms of stats, I actually made Arachnid have really good defenses because it's supposed to be a support Pokemon. And for the shiny, I turned its silver metal into this gold color because I wanted it to feel super rare. And today's sixth Pokemon will be for Region Was Taken, who says it's their first time commenting, and somehow they still got randomly selected. That is some crazy luck. You need to go buy a lottery ticket. But before you do that, let's spin this wheel to see the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. And trust me, there's nothing wrong with that. And now let's spin this wheel to see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you got 2, which makes you a full 3-stage evolution line. And now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first up is going to be the normal type. That is difficult. There's not a lot of regular animals in Arc Raiders, and normal fighting. I know we just got some really lucky typing, but this one is definitely difficult. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Snapple, the Snap Hook Pokemon. This tiny tadpole is based on one of the most useful items in Arc Raiders, the Snap Hook, a grapple hook that makes traversing much easier. And Snapple can traverse just as fluently, as its extendable harpoon tongue lets it dig into nearby surfaces before launching itself to a new location. And at level 22, it'll evolve into Flingula. Now, having gained the fighting type, this Pokemon has turned its strange tongue's properties into the focal point of a new combat method, as it rapidly swings around the battlefield, dodging opponents' attacks with ease, before swooping in to throw a swinging kick when the opponent is completely unready. And at level 37, it'll evolve into Gauntcrow. This combat-ready amphibian now wields 2 Snap Hook-like harpoons in both wrists, in addition to its tongue, giving it constant omnidirectional movement that would make even the likes of Spider-Man jealous. In terms of stats, Gauntcrow has good physical attack and speed, but but its defenses are mid. And for the shiny, I actually went with a reference to the Marvel icon himself. And today's 7th Pokemon will be for Luis Garcia, who just caught up to the entire series. So let's celebrate that by spinning this wheel to get the power level of your Pokemon, and you are a Convergent evolution. Interesting. So now we'll spin this wheel to see what generation of Pokemon will be making a Convergent 4, and it's Gen 9. The most recent generation. Cool. So now, of course, we'll spin this wheel that has every single Gen 9 Pokemon on it, and we got Rellor. A Pokemon based on a dung beetle isn't exactly the easiest thing to do, but it's still cool. And now let's see what typing we'll be giving to this Convergent Rellor. Your first type is the Fire type. That is certainly strange for Rellor. And Fire Ground type. Rellor is already Ground type, so that's actually interesting. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and again, none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Relimber, the Flame Hatch Pokemon. Where regular Rellor rolls a ball of earth in front of itself, Relimber has rolled a ball of earth around itself, as it now uses it to shield from enemy attacks, while also leaving a slot open to fire its own pyro attacks back at them, giving it an attack style very similar to the fireballs that roll up to raiders before opening their front hatch and shooting flames at them. And upon reaching level 35, it'll evolve into Rabzerv. Now, based on the Observer, another spherical arc enemy that can be seen shooting a beam into the sky when it's not trying to squish raiders. This Pokemon so too fires beams of pure fire at opponents while they're at long range, and will try to run them over with its soil covering when they enter close range. In terms of stats, Rabzerv is a powerful mixed attacker with solid defense and speed. However, it's got really bad HP to reflect the fact that there's actually a very weak bug hiding inside this defensive shell. And for the shiny, I went with this light blue color as a reference to the covering of the original Rabska's orb. And today's 8th Pokemon will be for some random guy. We are super close to episode 50. Kind of crazy to think about. But anyways, random, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a mythical Pokemon. For the last one of the day, that is some crazy clutch luck. And mythical Pokemon usually don't evolve, but we do still spin this wheel where you have a very small chance to get some, but none this time. And now let's see what typing this mythical Pokemon's going to be. Your first up is going to be the Psychic type. That is classic mythical typing, especially when you're pure Psychic type, because your second type is none, so you have the same typing as Mew. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is an additional form. Cool. Your Pokemon is Sonspirit, humanity's last tune Pokemon. This being a pure musical whimsy is based on the Music Box, a rare Arc Raiders item that serves as a reminder of humanity's once favorite pastime. As while legend says, Sonspirit was born out of humanity's love for music. Once everyone was forced underground by the Arc and now had no time to make new tunes, Sonspirit had to retreat inside its music box and await for the day that humans made more sweet music to give it life once again. But that's when a mighty hero appeared to land, as by crafting a mixtape so fire it's worth 10,000 coins, it's given Sonspirit more power than ever, unlocking its mixtape form. A pure Psychic type with so much pure musical energy, it forces any being that enter its presence to instantly groove, as it now constantly emits tracks so heat it might as well be a pure Fire type. In terms of stats, I gave it the standard mythical Pokemon distribution where it has a super high number in every category. And for the shiny, I went with this blue color as a reference to Aladdin. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to check out all the other episodes of the custom Pokemon series that can be found in this playlist. As always, huge thank you to all the artists that made today's Pokemon come to life. They can all be found in the description, so make sure to go check them out. And I'll see you all in the next episode, but until then, peace.